embrace digital distribution. Pretty much from video games to movies to music, all my stuff is digital.
I much prefer physical. I like actually owning something as opposed to just owning the license to play a game.
I have a lot of my old games that I just can't give up because it's nostalgic, but for the most part I don't bother with them anymore.
I like physical copies, something you can hold, you can bring to your friend's house.
But the collection side of things loses a bit of appeal. It's one thing to download 1,000 games, another thing to try to get some retro collection.
Just having physical media just means something, because now this is the whole game experience and I can move around with it. It's tactile, it's real.
At some point, digital distribution will be the model by and large.
Digital distribution is great for more obscure titles. They can get cheaper. It's good for sales and things like that. But they're very ethereal, very fleeting.
With digital media, they could take it away and just like that.
I can still pick up old games and play them now. If they were saved on hard drives, they would be just gone.
I like having a physical copy. There's just something less personal about downloading a game.
Physical items have a personal connection with people. A lot of my games growing up were given to me from my family because we couldn't afford games. But every one of those cards, every one of those physical gray cards that barely worked, I still have them because they're my memories in physical form. And that's something that you don't get that anymore. You do not get that anymore.
Obviously, there's a lot to say about digital distribution versus physical media, and the discussion isn't likely to end anytime soon. Many people do have a hardline stance against buying digital-only releases, which prevents them from discovering a lot of unique games from smaller independent teams. But a two-man publishing operation just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina is helping reconcile indie games with physical media. The year was 2010. Josh Fairhurst, a recent graduate from North Carolina State University with a degree in computer science, had just spent the last several months working crunch on Gears of War 2 for Epic Games. A longtime gamer and collector, he was ready to do things his own way.
Fresh out of college, I found some funding, thankfully, because there was this weird incubator program starting that was recklessly giving indie developers money. I pitched them an idea and they gave us 20 grand to start our company.
Josh and a few friends started Mighty Rabbit Studios in Cary, near Raleigh, the heart of North Carolina game development.
I'm Josh Fairhurst and this is Mighty Rabbit Studios.
Surrounded by the retro games they loved and were inspired by, they began development on Saturday Morning RPG for PC, Mac, and mobile. In an effort to make the best game that they could, they turned to Kickstarter where they raised over $10,000.
Saturday Morning RPG is an episodic role-playing game that is firmly set in a world inspired by 1980s Saturday morning cartoons and pop culture.
Released in 2013 for PC, Mac, iOS, and Android, Saturday Morning RPG would also feature an original soundtrack by Vince DiCola, who composed the iconic Transformers the Movie soundtrack.
We had reviewed well, we got so much press coverage. We thought the game was going to do insanely well. It didn't.
Despite losing one of its co-founders, Josh began to look for other opportunities to keep Mighty Rabbit afloat. An opportunity arose when they landed some contract work to create a demo for a mobile game called Breach and Clear. This turn-based military strategy game puts the player in control of a special forces unit as they face a variety of high-stress, real-world tactical situations. Determined to make an impression, Josh and his team ultimately built the full Breach and Clear game for the same amount that they negotiated for the demo. Breach and Clear was released on mobile platforms in 2013.
We went above and beyond to do it, to continue to thrive, stay in business, do good work for them. Game ended up being really successful. Breach and Clear was the #1 strategy game in, I think, like 40 different countries on the iOS App Store when it came out. It actually made it to like the #2 top app in the App Store in the United States, which was insane.
Bolstered by this success, Mighty Rabbit set about porting Breach and Clear to the PlayStation Vita while also developing Fat Chicken, a sort of reverse tower defense game for PC, Mac, and mobile. It wasn't long before Mighty Rabbit began development on Breach and Clear Deadline for PC, Mac, and Linux. Released in 2015, this spin-off dropped much of the realism of the original and threw the player into the zombie apocalypse. Despite being more approachable, Breach and Clear Deadline was plagued with a more difficult development and wouldn't end up enjoying the same success. To add insult to injury, the Vita port of the first game only sold around 2,000 copies on the PlayStation Network.
We were left with no work, no money, and we were about to have to close our doors. We were about 1 month out from closing our doors. And I had to think, like, what can we do? What crazy thing can we do right now to keep making money and to stay in business?
This is Retro City Rampage, an overhead, open-world game in an 8-bit style. It was developed solely by Brian Provinciano over the course of 5 years for a number of platforms, where it was sold as a digital download-only game. Garnering several awards and massive sales, Provinciano produced an update, Retro City Rampage DX, which added a ton of content. But this time, his eyes were set beyond the download-only realm. Brian Provinciano had gone to Sony and worked out all the details so that he could self-publish 2,000 copies of Retro City Rampage DX on actual PlayStation 4 Blu-ray discs, and later on cartridge for the PlayStation Vita. To help with shipping, Provinciano enlisted the services of Fangamer, a popular purveyor of custom video game goods. These went on sale for $25 on November 10th, 2014. They sold out immediately.
But I had this early inclination that Fangamer was going to go to their other clients, like Young Horses with Octodad, and put out other physical games after that was so wildly successful. I thought, this is the next step for Fangamer. They're going to do this. But then, like, a year had passed. They had put nothing else out. And it turns out it was because Brian Provinciano at VBlank had put all the effort forth.
This gave Fairhurst an idea. If he could take advantage of the groundwork laid by Provinciano and tap into the same flurry of excitement, then Mighty Rabbit might just have a chance.
I'm doing a Hail Mary. I'm printing 1,500 copies of Breach and Clear on cartridge for PlayStation Vita with the last money that we have. I didn't know if it was going to do well. I didn't know if it was going to sell out or if people would care, because honestly, the game hadn't sold very well on Vita.
Breach and Clear was published under the moniker Limited Run and etched with the number 1, which symbolized it as being their first release. The plan was to put them up for sale online exclusively through limitedrungames.com. But there was one catch. How do you drum up enough interest in a product like this without backing from a major player like Fangamer? Giving one copy to a close friend who just happened to be an industry vet proved to be just the catalyst that they were looking for.
Gave a copy to our good friend Randy Greenback, and he didn't ask if he could tweet about it. He just kind of like got it and took a picture of it with the limited run sticker next to it, and it exploded. Collectors immediately honed in on it. We're like, this is awesome, I gotta get in on this.
On October 29th, 2015, the first batch of Breach and Clear went on sale. To say it was a success was an understatement.
I think it was like 108 minutes was the total time it took to sell out of all of our stock. So it was like, right then we knew, this is big.
The gamble had paid off, and with that, Limited Run Games was in business, and Mighty Rabbit Studios back in the black. But the real question was, what's the next step? The Mighty Rabbit developed Saturday Morning RPG was the obvious candidate for a physical release, this time on the Vita and the PlayStation 4.
I wanted to have my games, first and foremost, the games that I developed at Mighty Rabbit, on discs and cartridges so they'd have a legacy. As somebody who grew up with physical media, that's always been something I've wanted. Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted a game I made to be on a disc in a box, like a real thing. Like, it kind of legitimizes your work.
On January 29th, 2016, Limited Run sold through all 1,980 copies on PlayStation 4 and 2,500 copies on the PlayStation Vita, cementing that there was definitely a market for this, and that Fairhurst was at the epicenter.
Just from having that insight as a game collector and a developer, I knew there was so many different reasons why this had to exist, why this had to be a thing. And I just didn't think anybody else was realizing that or noticing that, because the popular belief is that physical media is dead.
With 2 of Mighty Rabbit's releases available physically, it was time to expand Limited Run's scope and entice other developers. This is where Limited Run's co-founder would shine, one of Josh's closest childhood friends.
I met Josh in March of 2000 because we both were big fans of Gundam Wing, and we had the same science class together. We were the 2 friends, like when your groups start to spread apart, we always stayed together.
Douglas Bogart and Josh forged a bond of friendship through talking video games, writing bad Gundam fan fiction, hundreds of hours of Phantasy Star Online, and playing music. Their band name, Agito Plus 9, being an homage to the game that they love so much.
He started heading into video games when we got a little older, and I was still trying to do music. Eventually I wasn't going to be able to make it musically because he had already come to that conclusion way back in the day and I was more stubborn. He started including me more on some of the video game stuff and working as like a part-time tester, and then it just kind of got to that point where eventually he had me co-found Limited Run with him, and it kind of took off from there.
Douglas stepped into the role of Limited Run's PR and community manager with ease. It was up to him to approach the developers whose games that Limited Run was eager to publish.
Because I played in bands back in the day, it was really easy for me to go out in public and talk to people. Once we get that conversation going, I hand it off to Josh so he handles all the business stuff and like the actual nitty-gritty work.
Honestly, your first physical release is a lot of work because you have to meet so many people at Sony, you have to learn so many new websites. It's kind of a hurdle for developers to get past, to do.
We were developing games first, so we already understood the market.
I'm learning how to do this. I might as well approach other developers to do it for them because I've already put in the effort to learn it, and they're not going to want to put in that effort. And the other thing, they're not going to want to put the money down to risk putting one of these things out.
Us having the solution saying, hey, we can give you a physical copy without putting you in a financial situation where you're broke because you had to overproduce.
I will do all the work with Sony and make it just as easy as making your game compatible with the format, which is just a couple hours of work. And I figure that's a no-brainer.
Josh was right. It didn't take long for word to spread about what Limited Run was doing. Having physical, permanent copies of their games was something that several developers were interested in. While most deals were still being worked through, it would be one of the most iconic developers of the 32-bit generation that would end up being the first to sign on. Oddworld New and Tasty was a remake of the PlayStation 1 bestseller that was released on several platforms, including the PlayStation 4 and Vita. Oddworld inhabitants would reach out to Limited Run and express interest.
They contacted us about doing it because they liked what we were doing, and we had generated a lot of good press and we were growing extremely fast.
On April 24th, 2016, 5,000 copies of the PS4 version and 2,500 copies of the Vita version went up for sale on Limited Run's website. The release would include all patches and downloadable content on disc, a practice that Limited Run tried to make a habit of, preserving the complete game for the future.
We were big fans. I had played it on PlayStation, so did Josh. It was just like, wow, I can't believe this is the first game we're doing that's third party.
Although this was a larger print run than they'd ever done, the popularity of the series warranted the increased numbers. It didn't stop the game from selling through almost immediately.
Oddworld is kind of like, it's a legendary name. And this just showed everybody we can handle big properties.
I'm sure you're familiar with the free games that PlayStation Plus members get to download each month. They come from a variety of developers and publishers, but mostly they're from the indie scene. Still, of the hundreds of free games available, I've put real time and effort into only one. There's just something about buying a game, not to mention the deliberate act of putting it in a system, that makes me care about it more than just getting a digital download for free. If I pay for it, I am gonna play it. And unfortunately, as long as you're a PS Plus subscriber, Sony won't even let you buy PS Plus freebies for you to hold on to for later. Limited Run's fourth release was Futuridium EP Deluxe, a puzzle/shooter that was developed by Mixed Bag. It It was originally released for free for PlayStation Plus subscribers.
So that was another worry of ours, like saying these people already have this game, like maybe they don't want it again.
I have this strong belief that if somebody gets a game for free, they have a lot less attachment to it than if they pay for it. When you pay for a game, you take the time to play it, you give it an honest chance. If you get a free game, you might play it for a minute and then just give up on it. It was free, who cares?
But it turns out people with PlayStation Plus wanted the physical because now they can keep the physical sealed and just play the game they already had through PlayStation Plus.
On May 9th, 2016, Futuridium EP Deluxe was released on Limited Run's site. Available for both PS4 and Vita with a print run of just 2,000 copies per platform.
Mixed Bag was really happy with us. I had developers from Italy come up to me while I was eating lunch at E3 saying, hey, you worked with Mixed Bag, we're really good friends with them, and like I'd love to work with you.
With another successful sellout on the books, Josh and Douglas began to pursue some of their most wanted games.
When we started the company, we made a dream list on Google Drive, like saying, these are the companies we want to go after, and like if we could get these, that would be amazing. Octodad's been on there since day one, and like we never really tried, so I just kind of like one day I was like, screw it, I'm just going to email them and see what happens.
The answer was yes, and Young Horse's Octodad was released by Limited Run on June 19th, 2016, with 4,500 copies for the PS4 and 3,500 for the Vita. Also on tap was a special Dad Edition bundle that included a game-themed tie-in produced by Fangamer.
It took a little longer to sell out just because at the time we were riding a little high after Oddworld, so we signed a bigger release, but it still sold out within 2 days.
We've got this weird thing though, where if a game stays in stock for more than 24 hours, we start getting a deluge of emails from people asking us to cancel their orders. Because it's not rare anymore if it's in stock for 24 hours or more. But then when it sells out, we'll respond to them like, oh, never mind, I don't want to cancel it anymore.
Up to this point, Limited Run had only been releasing one game per month. This made sense when they were first starting, but as word of mouth and popularity increased, they had to figure something out.
We have so many developers coming to us with awesome games that we don't want to say no. Because I want to preserve these games, I want these games on my shelf, I'm not going to turn them away.
The solution sounds simple in theory, just release more than one game per month. In July 2016, 2 titles, or 3 if you count multi-platform versions, would hit simultaneously on the 4th of July. The first of the titles, Xeodrifter from Renegade Kid, would see release on both the PS4 and the Vita, numbered at 2,300 copies per platform.
What's crazy is that Jules Watson from Renegade Kid actually called me on the phone, sent me an email, called me on the phone, talked to me before we had even put Breach and Clear on sale, because he wanted to kind of investigate what we were doing because he's a big fan of physical media.
Xeodrifter looks and feels a lot like another Renegade Kid release, Mutant Mudds, which is one of the most popular games on the Nintendo eShop. So why not release it on that platform when a large chunk of the developer's fan base is there? And for that matter, why are all of the releases thus far only for Sony platforms?
So the big thing that Sony's allowing us to do that's kind of keeping us on Sony platforms right now is really low minimum order quantities. Sometimes they're letting us pay a very small fee to break their minimum order quantities and go below the minimum order quantities.
Microsoft, I feel like we could work with more so than Nintendo right now.
Microsoft is mired in paperwork and bureaucracy and money.
Nintendo is just kind of hard to work with at the moment when you're an indie company.
We're going to try to break onto those platforms. We're going to do what we can, but there's only so much we can do if they don't want to go below those minimum order quantities.
The second release of the day was Lost Sea, an overhead hack and slash with procedurally generated levels. This was to be the first entry in a multi-game deal with Hong Kong-based developer East Asia Soft, limited to 3,000 copies.
East Asia Soft put a lot of work into the packaging. They made manuals for the games.
But one thing absent from Lost Sea is also missing from all limited run releases. Something so subtle that you might not even notice. Where's the ESRB rating?
Games do not have to display them. It's a retailer requirement. It's GameStop saying, we have to have this rating on there because we don't want a parent to come in and buy a game and sue us when it's not appropriate for her kid. but we're selling direct to customer.
Talk about an underappreciated platform. The PlayStation Vita will go down in history as a disappointment for Sony, but for its fans, it will be one of the greatest missed opportunities. Now, have you noticed just how well Limited Run has supported the system? Nearly every game that they put out, if a version for the Vita exists, they made sure it gets a physical release. By the time they reach the end of their current release schedule, Limited Run Games may very well be the #1 publisher on the system. Crazy, right?
Vita fans are craving games because everybody says it's dead and AAA companies aren't supporting it. So any release you do for a Vita is like, it's gold to Vita fans. And it also shows that there's way more Vita fans than people are getting credit for.
Josh and Douglas would find this out firsthand when the second game in the East Asia Soft deal was released on July 29, 2016. Soldner X2 Final Prototype had Vita fans going crazy. Limited to just 3,200 copies, it's an amazing side-scrolling shooter with a great soundtrack. It's possible that demand was just a little bit underestimated. A perfect storm of hardcore Vita fans and Limited Run's increasing popularity, Soldner sold out so quickly that many buyers never even had a chance to get their order in. It didn't take long for the internet to make its ire known with claims of making things difficult for the non-collector. Limited Run does their best to give everyone a chance, with each release having 2 windows of sale. Half of the copies are available at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the second at 6 p.m. When it comes to the number of total available copies, it becomes a balancing act. Produce too few copies and buyers might get angry because they couldn't get it quick enough, but produce too many copies and they might not sell out at all. So they try their best to grow availability with their sales numbers.
We can probably put out a game with 3,000 copies, 3,200 like Soldner, and let people buy 2. And that will probably sell in about 24 hours. That's my prediction for how long that's going to last, because we actually looked at data, we looked at all of our past purchases, and we said this is where that should be.
Well, the data isn't going to match up every single time, as turned out to be the case with Soldner, but the lessons learned will be felt in the future.
It's always funny to me when people say, like, why don't you do more copies? And other people will defend us saying their game's Limited Run.
So as our customer base grows, you'll see those smaller runs expand. Now, instead of being 2,300 copies like Xeodrifter, it can be 3,500. So that's like our focus right now, is growing our following so that we can kind of get bigger runs and facilitate them.
We tell everybody, like, the rights revert back to the developer. They could do more prints with somebody else if they want to, so it's up to them. It's just, with us, it's one print and that's it.
Released alongside Soldner was Breaching Clear Deadline. Think about it, a game whose release had pretty much killed Mighty Rabbit was now getting a physical release on the PlayStation 4 that was limited to 3,000 copies.
It's a complete remaster of what we did on the PC version, and again, we chose that game just because it's ours, so, like, not to be biased, but any games we make will probably have a limited run for it.
Josh Fairhurst, Douglas Bogart, Mighty Rabbit Studios, and Limited Run Games had come full circle. Beyond Breaching Clear Deadline, we've already seen the release of several additional titles, one of which is their most high-profile release since Oddworld. Shadow Complex Remastered is a re-release of one of the more popular digital-only games from the previous generation. All 6,000 available copies sold through in under 48 hours. At this point, we can't help but wonder what the future holds for Limited Run. Competitors have started to pop up, but Josh and Douglas already have a number of high-profile titles in various stages of the process. Some announced, others a complete mystery. And while we won't know what those games are until they're announced, our minds can't help but run a little wild with possibilities and wishful thinking. But what about the game that Josh and Douglas dream of being able to release? The answer might be more obvious than you think.
And I guess, like, biggest stream game, which would make no sense for me ever to do, would be Phantasy Star Online 2.
Phantasy Star Online 2. If I could make that happen and have it be in English, that's my dream game right there.
We want to thank Josh and Douglas at Limited Run for allowing us to come over and spend the day with them. But most of all, we want to thank them for providing people with the opportunity to buy physical copies of the games we love and want to continue to enjoy into the future. It's good to see people who care about the medium the way we do fight for preserving a game long after the final server has been shut down.
I've been collecting games my whole life. For as long as I can remember. Every Nintendo game I've bought, I've kept. And it's really important to me to have game collecting in my life, to have games on a cartridge or on a disc or whatever. I can tell you a story about almost any physical game you pull out. I remember buying it at the store. I remember taking it home. I remember ripping the wrap off. I remember some significant event in my life that was happening when I got that game.
And now people are starting to miss the idea of having these boxes. They wanted to like proudly display, like, look, this is a game I spent, I don't know, 100 hours in. Like, I want this on my shelf to show people that, because showing people in my Steam library isn't necessarily as cool as saying, like, here's the box for the game.
If your game is just this digital thing that is going to be pretty hard to play in 20 years, who's going to be talking about it? When you have a working PlayStation 4 in 20 years, that game is still going to work in it. So collectors are always going to remember these things that we're putting out. There's a legacy.
Rated RP2M.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Limited Run Games press conference for E3 2018, broadcasting live from the Limited Run Auditorium in Apex, North Carolina. Josh Fairhurst and Douglas Bogart.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh Fairhurst, the co-founder and CEO of Limited Run Game.
And I'm Douglas Bogart, co-founder and COO. Get hyped, everybody!
Get hyped, everybody. First off, I'd like to start by thanking everyone who came out to attend today. When we started out, we never thought we'd be filling up auditoriums with people excited for our releases. And of course, thank you to everyone online who's watching. Before we get to the section of the show where we announce upcoming releases and other shocking reveals, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we do for those in the audience that don't already know what we do. After that, I want to take a look to the past at what's been accomplished since we got started back in the fall of 2015. Limited Run Games is a publisher that releases small single-issue print runs, typically in the 2,000 to 10,000 copy range, of previously released digital-only titles, but we make those physical. We do this because one day, all of these digital games will be removed from the servers they currently reside on. These games deserve physical preservation, and you, the players, deserve permanent ownership. To date, we've produced over 160 physical game releases. We started out with standard edition Vita and PlayStation 4 packages, but we gradually added collector's editions, vinyl soundtracks, PC games, and other types of goodies to our lineup. This year, we've added another new platform to our regular schedule, the Nintendo Switch. Starting out with Terrible Toy Box's fantastic adventure game, Thimbleweed Park.
Now that the company-related backstory is done, Let's get the show started with our first of many highly requested games. You may have noticed our drive to the stage at the start of the show, but in this Nintendo Switch exclusive, you'll be doing an entirely different kind of drive.
Hope you're all looking forward to Golf Story. This next game was in the works for years and years before it finally graced the digital storefronts earlier this year. Luckily, you won't have to wait that long to get a copy of it in your hands. Let's take a look at developer Joachim Sandberg's debut release on PS4 and Vita.
Next up, we have our two spine-tingly-dingly horror games from Polish developer Bloober Team. The first one will be launching on PS4, the second on Switch, both releasing during our Spooky Games month in October.
Lazarski, you there?
Dispatch, I got an emergency here. Can anyone hear me? The year is 2084. If they told me what the world would become, I would not have believed them. KPD? Anyone in there? I am what they fear. A corporate tool of oppression. If you don't remember, if you won't remember, that's when they call me. To access you. whatever's hiding in the darkest corners of your mind. My name is Daniel Lozowski. I'm an observer.
This house is absolutely amazing. How about that smile? All right. The undercoat should be dry by now. It's time to get to work. Hello? Yes, speaking. Ugly. Ugly? You ordered a true portrait, so that's what I painted. The clock struck 1. Horror ran down.
Introducing to the stage, Brian Gay.
Really gives you the heebie-jeebies, doesn't it? We've got even more Switch games from different genres coming down the pipe. This Ultraviolet Rhythm game just takes coming down the pipe a bit more literally.
This one for a very long time, and I'm sure many of you out there have as well. This will be our first localization project, and we'll be bringing it to PS4 and Vita. It brings me great joy to finally announce this, and I hope you're just as excited as me.
Oh
to the stage Douglas Bowman.
This next set of games is for a group of fans who made us into what we are today. We chose Breach and Clear, our only Vita console exclusive, as our pilot release, partially because of the nature of the Vita fan base. Vita fans are true diehards and the most loyal bunch out there. To help me announce this batch of games we're putting out only on the Vita, I'd like to summon to the stage the device that made this possible. First up, this pair of Cyberpunk games is from the same universe. Let's check it out.
Neo San Francisco, 2064 AD. The world is on the cusp of a new form of intelligence, and only you are capable of uncovering the truth behind it all. Turing, the world's first sapient machine. Jess Mees, a hybrid's rights lawyer with a chip on her shoulder. Lexi Rivers, longtime friend and disenfranchised NSFPD detective. Tomcat, an ace hacker with a mysterious past. Your investigation takes you down the mean streets of Neo San Francisco. Who do you believe? Who can you trust? Crisscrossing this cyberpunk underworld leads you to the biggest secret of them all. Read Only Memories, a new cyberpunk adventure.
Time to show off one last Vita exclusive, bouncing its way into our lineup this year. If there are any children in the audience, time to cover your face, but peek through your fingers. Let's see what's on the menu.
Josh Fairhurst.
That's enough for the Vita right now. Let's look at what else is coming up on the Switch. And now, to begin the Switchual. Nintendo Switch, I'm about to make a very special announcement. This next game we're about to show you is available right now for pre-order on our website, www.limitedrungames.com. Don't stop watching. We've got plenty more to show. Just go ahead and open up the second tab on your monitor that you currently have dedicated to live E3 hot takes from your favorite Thinkfluencers and content mavens and go check it out. Now without further ado, Oceanhorn, ladies and gentlemen, available right now on our e-commerce website, limitedrungames.com. Now it's important to note that this release was published by our friends at FDG Games. It is not part of the Limited Run Games collection, but we've assisted in releasing this game as a distributor. So this game will be available as an open pre-order for the next month. The first 5,000 copies that sell will be ready to ship in the next 2 weeks. And any copies sold beyond that will be manufactured to demand, and that will be the entire run. So if you want a copy of Oceanhorn for the Nintendo Switch to add to your physical collection, go ahead and get one now.
Welcome to the stage, Justin Okeke.
The next two Switch announcements we have to make are ones that have, in part, been cooked up in our own in-house development studio. Occasionally, we'll get our hands dirty and port other developers' games to platforms when they don't have the resources to do so themselves. Here's one many of you may be familiar with, now revealed on Switch for the first time.
already been announced, but today we are going to be revealing its release date. Let me welcome to the stage Limited Run CFO, Ben Moore. Ben has been a great help in keeping our finances in order and looking for investment opportunities. Today, he'll be helping us announce their release date.
Hey man, anything I can do to help.
Awesome. Now stand right there, and let's get this started.
Right here?
Perfect. Now stand still. Oldest trick in the book. If you haven't already guessed it, it's time to announce the digital and physical release dates for Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition on Switch. From Screaming Villains, the digital release will be live on the eShop soon, and our physical release will be out for sale in July. Moving on from our internal porting efforts, let's look at another Switch game from our partners at Playtonic.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
Shredding onto the stage, it's Pete Biles.
This next release is one we've wanted to do since day one of Limited Run Games. This modern classic is a masterpiece in its own right, and since its initial incarnation released in 2008, has inspired countless other games due to its challenge and timeless mechanics. Chances are, this game will only ever be topped by its upcoming sequel. You're going to want to hold on to your seats and make sure you don't get lost now because the walls are shifting.
Impossible, I thought, as I peered through the brush. Buried under the earth was a forest so lush, filled with flora and fauna and pits large and small. If not for my chute, I'd have died from a fall. Dodging frogs, I descended, the jungle grew dark. I found a lit torch, but it soon lost its spark. Surrounded by darkness, resigned to my fate, my very last bomb revealed an escape. I emerged in a market filled with grumpy old men, hawking wares of all kinds in their clandestine den. One had a wrapped box and I couldn't resist. In my hurried excitement, I opened the gift. Next thing I knew, they were shooting at me. Make sure to pay first when you play Spelunky.
Welcome onto the stage, Sarah Elliott.
We've got just a few more games to show you today.
Created by developers Magnetic Realms and Xseed, we have an old-school action-adventure game inspired by Commodore 64 and Amiga platformers from the early 90s.
Japanese title for PlayStation 4 and Vita. This game was heavily inspired by Tribute Games' Scott Pilgrim game. Hope you enjoy it. This game got announced at E3 last year, and it's my pleasure to finally give it a release date. I hope everyone stops being salty on my Twitter mentions after this, so I can have my social media sanctuary back.
Arcade on Xbox 360, it felt like there was a fresh new indie game being released on the platform every other week. This game was one of my personal favorites from the era, and it brings me a lot of satisfaction to announce that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it will get a physical release from none other than Limited Run Games. Like Iconoclast, which was announced earlier, this game is also largely the product of a single developer's labor of love. Please take a look.
This realm has fallen to fade. We dare not even ask for a hero, for no creature should suffer so to mend this broken land. He leads the greatest army our world has ever known, spilling innocent blood. Even now, I sense their footsteps as they march ever closer.
There is a legend, the oldest of Elysian tales. It speaks of a warrior who wields that very blade. You, Dust, will turn the tide.
Well, no pressure or anything.
Be tested, Dust. An army of thousands stands before us, and they've never been defeated. Well, let's not keep them waiting.
Don't you remember your duty? Don't you remember your friends?
I remember everything.
And it changes nothing!
You did not know? You possess a rare gift. Never have I seen it before.
And now, to close out our ceremonies, let's welcome back one more time, Josh and Douglas.
Thank you to everyone for coming out. And don't forget, we'll be doing a live Q&A session on this stream in just a few minutes. Please enjoy the rest of your E3. And don't forget that Ubisoft's press conference begins at the top of the hour if you'd like to catch up with our boy Yves Guillemot and his gang to see what they've been up to. You may even catch a look at Ubisoft Dreamboat Patrice Desilets. But before we leave, we're going to show you just one more thing.
Hey. Hi. My name is Eddie. I need your help.
It's us.
So much
Limited Run right here. We're watching the press conference over here. Thanks for coming out and watching it on twitch.tv/limitedrungames.com. We're excited that you guys didn't all leave after the first minute. So we're here to answer questions. We'll try to catch them when they pop up in the stream. I think one of the things we can do in the meantime is kind of like, what's everybody excited for in the room? Like, what's kind of everybody here feeling?
Senran Kagura.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're a Senran Kagura boy.
Definitely Dust, man. That game.
Yeah, Dust looks good.
I'm a huge Dust
looks
fan.
real good.
On Xbox 360, it was one of my favorite games, right next to Shadow Complex. I just and so excited to finally get that game out. Me and Douglas have been kind of chasing that for a long time. And we're not furries, you know? To like dust, just, you know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a pretty beefy beard before.
I saw somebody asked about Sakai Project. I saw that one
The
pop in
Sakai
twice.
Project games. So we announced about a year, actually like 2 years ago now, when I was at E3 in 2015 or 2016, that we were doing some visual novels with Sakai Project. Those are progressing now, so Fault Milestone won, a couple other things. I keep seeing Battle Garaga come up, and all I have to say about Battle Garaga is stay tuned. There's a lot of stuff we have signed, a lot of big stuff that we didn't have the time to actually announce during this conference. So we've got plenty of stuff coming soon. And we just kind of recommend that you sign up for our newsletter and check it out. And one thing I want to say is make sure you pop over to our website as soon as you can and pick up a copy of Oceanhorn for the Nintendo Switch. We've got about 4,000 copies left of the copies that have already been manufactured, and those are going to be ready to ship out in like 2 to 3 weeks. So pick up a copy and add that game to your collection. So anybody here, you know, have any questions or see anything come up in the stream? I'm kind of paying attention to just talking.
Oh, Y2K, they asked about an update on Y2K. I was actually worried about that one too.
Yeah. So it's going so fast. Okay, so I see questions about Emily's dog actually. That's what we have to answer.
Charlie.
Charlie,
hey, you know what you should do to kick this off is explain what the reveal at the end was, because a lot of people probably don't know what that was.
Yeah, so the reveal at the end are just one more thing. That's the 25th anniversary edition of Double Switch, which is a classic Sega CD FMV game from Digital Pictures, who was the company that released Night Trap. So it's actually kind of an evolution of the formula that Night Trap created. And it's actually a lot better game than Night Trap. It just doesn't have as much infamy. It stars Corey Haim, R. Lee Ermey, the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, and Debbie Harry from Blondie. So it's got a really nice cast. Compared to like literally just Dana Plato in Night Trap. So Double Switch is coming in remastered form to the PlayStation 4 and we hope the Nintendo Switch, but we don't know yet.
Someone asked about the release date for Dust.
The release date for Dust? So the digital release date is within the next month or two. I don't know specifically when it's going to come out. Our physical release date, we're still working on nailing down the final release date for that. Hopefully it's going to be soon. I'm really excited to get that game out. I can't wait.
Yeah. Spelunky 1.
Plenty of waifus. Yeah. Douglas, who's the best in Senran? Somebody just asked you, who's your waifu?
Oh yeah, best girl.
Homura.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now there's your waifu. Any news for distribution in Europe? So right now, we sell our games worldwide, so if you go on our website, we'll ship anywhere. So if you live in any country around the world, we'll ship to you. But a lot of people have been asking if we could actually send things out of Europe or start distribution there. We were thinking about it for a while, but we just had a really, really bad experience with a European publisher that cost us a lot of money, and now we're kind of very concerned about working with anybody else that's outside of our office. So right now we've kind of scaled those plans back in because we just had such a bad experience. So the plans are kind of tabled right now, but we are shipping to Europe already. So we've kind of got distribution worldwide.
Someone asked about pre-orders for Golf Story.
The pre-orders for Golf Story are going to open in September. I can't remember what the specific date is. I think it's like September.
I think it's middle September. I don't know.
It's like the second Friday of September, maybe. I don't remember. But right now, we're waiting. We're doing a really awesome collector's edition for that game with Fangamer. It's going to be one of the best collector's editions we've ever done, and it's kind of taking a while to get that made. So it's been put into September so that we can kind of give that collector's edition as much time as possible to get that out there.
Any plans for Night in the Woods?
They were asking about ROM and
I would say stay tuned on that one.
Valhalla.
We're huge fans of it here.
I've been hearing a lot of
the
stuff.
ROM and Valhalla collector's edition.
Why don't you talk
really
about the ROM Valhalla Shadi collector's edition?
Yeah, talk about.
Oh yeah, so the collector's edition for that.
Poke your head in so you can actually see it. There you go.
So you can buy, you can pre-order and buy each collector's edition separately, but you can also buy into both of them together, and it'll magnet attach together. If you do get both of them, you will get a third poster of that awesome gatefolded art across the whole thing. So
It looks great.
Yeah, it looks
I'm
awesome.
super excited.
So I would definitely advise getting both because that poster's going to be pretty rad.
Yeah, our manufacturers already showed us a couple examples.
Yeah,
It's not like
somebody asked if the buff sexy guy in the blue shirt, which one? Ben? This boy, they asked if the buff sexy guy in the blue shirt on Instagram.
So I got a good question for Douglas. They were asking about. There was a question about House of Morgana. So they're talking about whether or not it's going to lead to future localization projects with us. Is there any more interest? I can't remember where you and Josh landed on that. Was that something you guys are still folding?
Yeah, if the game does really well and everything goes the way it's planned, we would definitely like to open the door to do more. Originally, the goal was to do this game because it was a big Vita game, and at the time, Vita was kind of drying up. But now that we're kind of at a dead end with Vita, I guess we're looking to bringing stuff over, maybe PS4 and Switch.
Yeah, it's really like there's a lot of good games that aren't coming over from Japan because they, while they might be good, they might still be a little too niche for someone like Atlas or Exceed or any of the other, or NIS America, any of the smaller Japanese English publishers. So we're kind of looking into kind of picking up some of those games that get passed over.
Someone says, "Sit down, buff guy. You're intimidating us."
Sit down, man.
I've seen
yourself.
Who's asking this?
If you could do a little dab.
Just a little dab.
So one of the things I just want to quickly mention is Douglas has been holding. Hey, let me grab this. Douglas has been holding a stack of rare games that we've released in the past that we're going to raffle off to people in the chat around, I guess, in 15 minutes, around 4 o'clock Eastern time. We've got a Night Trap Collector's Edition for the PlayStation 4. We've got Breach and Clear for the PlayStation Vita, which was our first release that we ever did. And we've got a copy of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse for the PlayStation 4. And
My Shantae!
we've got a copy of the award-winning Firewatch by Campo Santo for PlayStation 4. And we've got one of my favorite releases from us, Shadow Complex from Epic Games. And boy, am I happy that we put this out when we did, because it was right before Fortnite hit it big, and I don't think they would give us the time of day anymore.
Someone asked update on the long box cases.
So the long box cases, we actually, I was going to say in this, we actually finished up the long box cases. We got our mold back, and they are amazing. They are 100% accurate to Sega Saturn cases and Sega CD. We're going to have those up for sale probably at the end of next month. We're really, really excited about that. So if anybody in the chat didn't know, we actually spent a whole bunch of money remaking Sega Saturn and Sega CD cases because so many of the ones that are out there are broken, cracked, damaged, whatever, and there was no option at the time to replace them. So we actually went out and got new molds made so that we could create new cases for collectors to actually fix their cases that are broken.
Any idea on price?
The pricing for them? Right now we haven't completely solidified what we're doing with the prices, but they'll be affordable. It's right now I was looking at, like last time I looked into it, I was looking at like 5 for $25. We might have a more deluxe version made out of like a really nice reinforced acrylic that will crack less, scratch less, break less, and that will be like a little bit more expensive. I don't specifically know yet.
Phantasy Star Online too. Are we getting closer to getting
we're like this much closer.
But we're still like that's like this long. Like Phantasy Star Online. Man, I would kill for that.
People make some good guesses on here. Like it was like last year. I think some like people shot call it. It sucks. You can't say anything, but there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean people are calling things that we already have signed all over.
This isn't all we got this year. We got plenty.
We should have had Andrew WK just walk in at the end of the Q&A.
Any updates on Rabby Ribby?
Yeah, I've been hearing that one a lot.
So we're gonna just finish that up at E3 and get it out ASAP.
Yeah, so Rabby Ribby, we actually have most of the groundwork laid for it. We're just waiting for Sekai to put in, I think, the final patch on PS4 so that they can do a complete disc. And then once we have that, we're gonna put that out. We're hoping, fingers crossed, that it's gonna come out in July. But if not July, it's probably gonna hit in August. So
somebody asked, does Thumper contain the VR content?
Yes. Thumper does contain the VR content.
So nice.
And that collector's edition is going to be one of the best we have.
Yeah, we've got a collector's edition that Shaddy put together. It's got
tuned
like
for that.
full foil box. Like, man, it is beautiful.
It's gonna be great.
Somebody said Adrian's Andrew WK.
You could have been Andrew WK. We should have gotten a smoke machine. Just shot.
Just get some
Punch yourself
blood.
in the
Walk
face.
out. Yeah, get some blood. dripping out your mouth.
Iconoclast win. I think that's Q3 this year.
Yeah, so that's like fall, right?
Yeah,
so
that's this year. That's pretty soon.
September, October, sometime at that range.
I went to us, but I'm actually just as excited about that one. That game is amazing.
Which
Iconoclast?
Yeah, Iconoclast.
That's really fun. I
No
really
Dust
enjoy
for
that one.
PS4. I keep seeing that. It's coming out.
Somebody
Switch.
recommended the Douglas Speedo calendar. I would want to make sure.
Yeah.
I would totally hang that up in my
The Douglas
office.
Speedo calendar, okay? All right, well, limited edition
Any
right there.
future PSVR games?
PSVR, yeah, it's something that we're really looking into pretty hardcore. I mean, me and Douglas are big fans of Beat Saber. We think that's awesome. That just got announced for PS4. So that's something we're going to try to look into.
Is that
Where
Halo 3?
probably we really like Climb to the Top. I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
That game is great. So we've got so many ideas and plans for PSVR physicals that we just need to kind of get going so we can kind of get those out on a monthly basis or something like that. We don't want to kind of oversaturate it, but it's something that we really want to do. Definitely yes to Battle Garaga. I love that game, so just stay tuned on that one if you're a Battle Garaga fan. If you like shmups, that is one of the best out there. I've even got a Sega Saturn copy up there in my collection. We've got my collection over here. You can't see it, but
it's there.
Yeah.
Someone asked if Charlie is a good dog.
He's not a good dog.
Sometimes Charlie's good.
He's not a nice boy.
Not yet, because we don't know the final. We don't know since the boxes are going to be like they're specialized. They've got a gatefold. They're all foil, and they got the magnets in them. We don't really know how much they're going to cost yet.
Yeah, so stay tuned on Collector's Edition for Rom and Valhalla.
How much do those cost?
I've seen
magnets. They're crazy.
How they work.
A lot of people asking about Y2K.
Yeah,
I seen
Yeah,
somebody ask
yeah.
about a Hat in Time a couple of times.
A Hat in Time is published by Humble Bundle. We've had no luck breaking through with Humble Bundle, so it's just one of those things. It's just kind of on them right now to figure out what they're going to do with their own physical releases if they do them.
Are you doing a pre-order for Rom and Valhalla? Someone just asked that.
So Rom and Valhalla are not going to be open pre-orders. Valhalla was signed at a huge number, so it's an accommodating number. We've never sold that many Vita games, so it's kind of, honestly, it's a little scary of a number for us. So it doesn't need to be open pre-order, is the thing.
People are asking about Ukulele. When is it, and if it's going to be pre-order as well?
Yeah, everything on Switch from us is pre-ordered.
Yeah,
and I think that's August.
We do collector's editions for every Switch game, and the collector's editions are not pre-order, but the standard releases are always pre-ordered. So we want to make sure that every single person can get a full set of our Switch releases if they want.
Someone asked in the chat, seems kind of relevant, if we're looking towards making our own games again.
So yeah, so one of the things that I said with one of the last Switch releases we did was Saturday Morning RPG, which was the game that I started my game development company on, and a lot of the people here actually started working with me on. Ben started working with me on that. Kurt, who's over here, started working with me on that. Pete and Adrian and Douglas actually tested for it, and Shaddy was actually a contract artist like 5 years ago on that thing. So it has a lot of roots here, and our physical release on Switch, which sales ended a week ago, it sold really well. So we're actually going to do a sequel to Saturday Morning RPG, and more details on that are going to come out as we kind of build more content for it. We don't want to do a full announcement for it before we have any art or logos or anything like that. I'll give you $25 for Charlie.
Give
I just want
it
to
for 10.
I like that. On the screen, he's just kind of sitting there. Now he's sitting down. He's like, nope, not going to be on.
I don't know the details, but if you want to tell them about Sundered,
Oh yeah, Sundered is still coming out soon. We're just waiting for the final update from Thunder Lotus, but it should be pretty soon, probably in the next few months actually. And then I saw another one about Senran Kagura. Will have a collector's edition, and there are plenty of units of that game, so they shouldn't need to be a pre-order.
Yeah, and Salt and Sanctuary, that has been one that me and Douglas have not. It's like not a day has gone by on Twitter where somebody hasn't asked, where's Salt and Sanctuary, or when Salt and Sanctuary released, or why are you releasing this when you should be releasing Salt and Sanctuary? Like, that comes up all the
Even
time.
our developer friends ask me.
Yeah, so it's like Salt and Sanctuary is definitely going to get a CE. If there's any game that's like in our lineup that needs a CE, that is one right there. A lot of people are asking about Scott Pilgrim. I mean, like,
we've exhausted like every route to
I
try to
would.
get Scott Pilgrim. Like we work with Tribute. Those are the guys that actually developed that game at Ubisoft. But there's so many hurdles in actually getting that game. It's like, you need licensing from Universal. You need to get Ubisoft on board. They're gonna be like, oh, we can make $300,000 for that. We fart $300,000. Like, they're not gonna care. They're not. I mean, wait for their press conference. They're gonna be like, physical Scott Pilgrim. I'm like, what?
They need that money, man.
They really need that. Yeah,
Steve
Game On needs
doesn't
it
do well.
for his toilet paper.
Crew doesn't do well.
They're gonna fund Steep.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim physical sales. People are asking if our releases work with the DLC. A lot of the times, we actually include the DLC on the disc or cartridge. That's something we push for a lot. We don't always do it, and most of the time when we don't do that, it does work. I think there's been one case in the past where it didn't. I see more details on the Switch version of Night Trap. Night Trap goes on sale July 6th. It will be open pre-order. There's going to be a collector's edition that's actually going to have a VHS copy of Night Trap, the movie. For the first time ever, all of the footage for Night Trap is being edited down into a 48-minute movie, and it's being released on VHS tape.
Jeez.
So if you want to watch it, you got to put it in a VHS tape.
You gotta
do a
buy
VCR.
a VCR.
You got to find a VCR. I mean, go to any Goodwill.
Everyone's
like
still got
$5.
one,
Every Goodwill
please.
has like 3 of them. So it's like, just do
Someone
that.
asked about Musinks.
Musinks? Musinks we're putting up for sale at the end of this month. Mucinex.
Is it Mucinex?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Why'd you say that?
Man, there's so many questions on here. I just want to be able to
We love. I see a question about Blaster Master Zero. We love Inti Creates. They're great. We spent a lot of time with them at E3, or we're going to spend a lot of time with them at E3. We spent a lot of time with them at GDC.
And for me in Japan.
Yeah, you actually visited them in Japan when you were there. So we love Inti Creates. So like we're pushing hard to do whatever we can with them because we think they're great.
The Sinran Conquer game does include all the DLC. That's
It's the
So
full
many.
course edition.
Yeah.
And the full course is all the DLC.
Somebody asked about Battle Chef or something.
Battle Chef Brigade.
Yeah.
Battle Chef Brigade is something that I really want to release. When we had Saturday Morning RPG at PAX in 2014 in their indie showcase at PAX East, we were actually right next to the team that made Battle Chef Brigade, and we bonded a lot during that weekend. So it's been a game that's been kind of a personal dream of mine to do, but it's through Adult Swim Games. They're a huge corporation. They're owned by Turner Broadcasting, so it's kind of like you got to get through a lot of red tape to do any Adult Swim releases. So, fingers crossed. Let's hope we can do it.
I'm going to make all these loose discs.
And I see somebody asking if we have a relation with Devolver Digital. So Devolver Digital actually has their own wing that does limited physical game releases called Special Reserve Games, and we're really good friends with them. We work with them a lot, very closely, and I think that anything Devolver is probably going to end up coming out through Special Reserves. I am trying my hardest right now to make them do Metal Wolf Chaos. Like, I'm going to make sure that they do it. I'm going to tell them I don't even know, what can I threaten them with?
Probably nothing.
Yeah,
Probably nothing. Not much.
There's a decision not to.
I've seen it.
But I feel like, if they don't want to do it, they'll just give it to me.
Yeah.
Is it
Which,
more
I'm going to do it.
What can you bribe them with?
Yeah, what can I bribe them?
Why'd you go to threaten?
I don't even
Threat.
I've been playing too much Detroit on violent mode.
I saw a lot of people ask about Valley
It's
of the
aggressive. I'm
Gods.
choosing that aggressive option.
You gotta try to
Triangle.
calm and peaceful.
I saw a lot of people ask about Valley of the Gods. I would say, I think it'd be a dream for us to be able to work with them again.
Oh, yeah, to work with Campo Santo.
Great team.
But after Campo Santo got bought by Valve,
No,
we're just pretty we don't know if we'll be able to work with them again, just because Valve's a bigger company, they make a lot of money, and it's kind of like the amount of money that we generate for developers, while a lot for developers themselves, ends up looking kind of like a drop in the bucket for larger places like Valve, who what's Valve's annual revenue? Billions and billions.
Yeah.
They make more in 10 minutes than we ever will.
Yeah, so they'll just be like,
Our entire asset value is probably their lunch budget at a conference. It's ridiculous.
How are we raffling?
How are we raffling this?
How do you usually do it?
Oh, that thing broke.
It broke?
Oh my
We have a
god.
new thing, but it's not
We can't do it on this.
It's just not going to work?
It's not going to work.
You could do it
How are we
on
gonna do
Twitter.
How are we going to give it away?
Have them retweet.
Trivia.
We can do it on
Whoopsie
this.
daisy.
We just have to whisper them.
Okay, yeah, just do it and whisper them.
It's just because there's too many people. The chat's going too
I
fast.
don't know if you could actually copy all the names that are on there.
Everybody said Hellblade. That would be
you
awesome.
have to copy the names?
They got bought by Microsoft. That's why.
Shaddy's gonna get started on it right now, I guess.
Let's see if we can.
Let's see if we can do it. Either that, or you can literally just look at the names.
Where's the mouse for this computer?
I say you
That's
look,
the PlayStation.
I say you look at the games, you flick the mouse wheel, and you see where the cursor lands. No, you know it's a primitive, but
that doesn't always work.
Can we just do it on
Well,
Twitter?
how do you do it?
Can we just do Twitter?
So we're
Highlight all of them. Whoa, there's a lot of.
Wow, how many?
That is a lot of names, guys.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I see what your concern is there. So we're working on figuring out the details to give away these games that Douglas is holding in his lap.
They're warm
now
on
everybody
his
can
lap.
see my knees. My knees are bare.
Sorry, not sorry.
Oh, it was also Josh's birthday yesterday.
Oh yeah, it was. It was Josh's birthday
Happy
yesterday.
birthday! It's like, please stop.
This is like being at a restaurant. Like everybody in the restaurant looks at you, but it's like 30,000 people.
Everyone's like, I don't give a shit.
They grab on you and they sing you the birthday song.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that birthday song and it's loud and obnoxious. They do it like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, happy birthday.
You gotta go in the morning. Like, really
I drove by that Texas Roadhouse at
Happy
11 p.m.
birthday.
It was
The birthday song is short.
How many people are getting steak at 11 p.m.?
Me.
You go for breakfast. There's no way. There's no one
Get
there.
steak and eggs.
I know, like
No,
10.
it was the Texas Roadhouse in Holly Springs.
My
foot's going. The entire parking lot was filled up. I was getting ice cream at 11 from a different place.
Come on
Entire
over.
Everybody's waiting for Apple's
one gets closer.
This way or we
Yay!
Shaddy's getting an extension for it, so I think we'll be good. Shaddy knows what he's doing. He watches lots of streams, big streamers.
Yeah, that's the one we already had.
Why did it break?
It's not broken. Like it gets used every day. I don't know why it doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
I don't know if they like this.
Yeah. I uninstalled it and reinstalled it.
Oh, give me my chanté.
So, we
I command you.
So somebody was asking if we've played House in Fata Morgana. Sarah over here, she's cut off a little bit. You could probably sit over here. You could talk about your love for Fata Morgana.
I guess I could.
And Douglas is a big fan of over here as well.
I think Douglas is tired of me asking him about it.
Yeah, well now you know.
I write
Yeah.
Foots numb.
Let the dog choose the winner.
It's like, whoopsies.
The dog choose the winner.
Charlie.
Raffle.
Raffle.
We're just gonna start taking names.
I think Shaddy's getting close to it.
I don't know. Dust. Open Twitch giveaway.
For a Vita Steelbook for Dust?
Yeah, see,
That's
nobody pops up.
That's weird.
Somebody
Dust isn't on Vita.
Well, what are your dream games to do other than Phantasy Star?
I mean, my dream game, like, if I could pick any random game from the past and re-release it, I would take, like, the original Phantasy Star Online and bring it to modern consoles, free online play.
Ooh, that'd be
Because
cool.
at this point, like, the server traffic for a Dreamcast game from 2001 would be like nothing. Like, it wouldn't cost much to run those servers, and that would be amazing.
I'm saying Raffle.
People damn.
And I mean, if I had a follow up, like I love this game called Pulseman on the Sega Genesis. It was this game that was made by Game Freak before they got like stuck in the Pokemon loop, like only doing Pokemon games, and it's like a really good game, like a Mega Man like type game for the Sega Genesis that only came out here on Sega Channel. And it's an amazingly good game that very few people know about. So, like, if I could pick any game,
it's no Vector Man.
I would pull that and put that out. No Vector Man?
It's no Vector Man.
Yeah.
I would put out Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger for the SNES, right there. That's my pick. And actually, this is a really weird dream game, but it's one that I've actually tried to make happen. Make my music video with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Oh, shit, we found copies. Yeah.
I really want to re-release Marky Mark Make My Video for the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. So, Tyler Hogle, the guy who runs Screaming Villains, and did the Night Trap remaster and is doing the Double Switch remaster, he actually made Marky Mark Make My Video for the PS4 in like 30 minutes. And had it running, and we had like this YouTube video of footage of it running.
Yeah.
And we had it up on YouTube and got people excited for it for about like 10 seconds, and then it got DMCA'd and taken down.
Oh.
But what was crazy was it was actually running on a PS4.
Yeah.
It was actually Make My Music Video on a PS4.
That's awesome.
And like, I just want to get the license for the music and like get Mark Wahlberg on board and pop that out because
Well, I don't have a keyboard to type over here though.
Well, you keep one.
Oh, I got
I
that.
keep seeing
Keyboard
Breach and
somewhere.
Clear for Switch.
Huh?
I keep seeing Breach and Clear for Switch.
So Breach and Clear, I would love to bring to Switch. It's one of my favorite games that we developed at Mighty Rabbit Studios, which is my game development company.
Clear?
The Switch version, though, the rights to that are with Gun Media.
Okay.
They made the Friday the 13th game that's super successful right now. So their focus is almost entirely on Friday the 13th at this point, and not really on Breach and Clear, unfortunately.
Another one I've been seeing a lot is, since we did F++ on PS4, a lot of people are asking if we're going to bring that to the Switch too.
I'd like to. It was one of Adrian's favorite games. He's not in the room anymore.
Oh, what?
Which game?
He like disappeared. Maybe he's like throwing up somewhere.
Oh, he's like my baby.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about the Wii U game that we were working on, and I think that went hand in hand with something you talked about earlier today already.
What?
Somebody asked about what happened with the Wii U game we were working on.
Discuss that just
Yeah, I can't really discuss that, but I mean, it goes hand in hand with something. When I was talking about that European distribution, and yeah, let me just say that it's kind of a sore spot right now.
We'll let you know when we can.
But we hope we can sort that out. We had something really cool planned for Wii U, and who knows if it's going to happen.
You get the raffle thing going?
Yeah, we just did the winner for Breach and Clear.
All right.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
All right, I think we got a winner for Breach and Clear.
It was
Who was it?
Dun, 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 dun.
Ruben D. Vasquez.
All right, Ruben D. Vasquez, you won Breach and Clear for the PlayStation Vita. So,
We're all like, hooray.
he might just be like idling in the background.
Yeah, seriously.
Somebody just let us know that Just Dance is going on right now. We're missing it.
No, Just Dance.
What's Just Dance?
Hey,
you called that.
I knew that. Like
He knows. He saw.
Followed by Steep 2.
Is he in chat?
He saw. Yeah.
We're gonna get Steep 2, Assassin's Creed. We're gonna Tom
Whisper
Clancy's.
him.
Tom
You gotta whisper
Clancy's. So Division 2.
Don't you just do like slash
unless
W?
Caffeine Man's back, Mr. Caffeine. Unless
Douglas.
he comes back, you
Douglas.
don't remember Mr. Caffeine?
Huh?
He was the
needs to
guy
whisper
on
him, he doesn't know how.
in like
Figure it out.
2011 Ubisoft's press conference. They had this guy that kept going
Don't
like,
you do like slash whisper?
that thing. You don't remember that? Look it up. Mr. Caffeine's the best.
I'll have to investigate Mr.
So
Caffeine.
I have two favorite E3 presenters of all time. Jamie Kennedy, when he went on stage at Activision, completely like stoned and drunk, or like a combination of like everything possible. Like, and he was like sweat drenched and like not thinking clear at all. That was one of my favorite press conferences. And then Mr. Caffeine, Ubisoft 2000.
Somebody wants to know about Floor Kids on Switch.
Floor Kids?
Yeah.
Floor Kids.
I don't know much.
What are we doing?
What
are we raffling next?
What
Are we raffling next? Firewatch?
Firewatch.
All right, we're doing Firewatch next.
All right, guys. Firewatch. All right.
Watching the fire.
Toilet Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Toilet Kids is for the PC Engine. Yeah, I don't think anybody's asking for Toilet Kids.
Coop brought up a good point. Steve Ballmer was pretty funny with the...
Yeah, developers.
Yeah.
So I love Steve Ballmer. And I liked Tak Fuji from Konami.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he's high up. And that drum guy from like the Wii Music presentation.
Gosh,
I don't remember
love Firewatch.
like, what his name is.
It's
but,
so
like,
good.
I don't know if I saw that
It
one.
was pretty good.
Gosh.
Oh, I remember that game.
Oh, Mischief Makers was awesome. I just like a little voice squeak. Oh,
All right, winner is Goalmeister.
Oh, who?
Goalmeister.
Goalmeister.
Alrighty.
Goalmeister.
Goalmeister. You won Firewatch for the PS4.
Man, this chat is insane. Slow down.
That's good, very cool.
If you're still here, though.
All right, we got two. What is that? 3 more games to give away. Next up, we're doing Shantae and the Pirate's Curse on the PS4.
They all love
And
that.
My
it's
Shantae!
the sexy variant cover with the swimsuit art on the back. With yeah.
No, she is a beautiful woman.
With risky boots and Shantae in their bikinis.
Give me Shantae.
Yes.
Everyone's like, give me a
Oh, baby.
Pirate.
The
Chad awakens.
She my
and
girl.
actually, yes, this is a Y-fold sealed firewall.
Oh, snap-a-rooney.
It's not a heat seal. Because that was what was at the top of our promo copy pile.
The thirst is real.
I love Dorp and
Give me that
Supergiant
champagne.
has been at the top of our list of developers to work with for the last 3 years now. Bastion, Transistor, Pyre. I mean, those are legendary games that need to be preserved. I mean, it's just like, it's such a shame. It's like a damn shame that like I can go out and play Putty Squad right now on disc. No offense, like I haven't really played Putty Squad, so
No
I'm kind of like
offense.
shitting on it without like having played it. But like, I'm sure I'd like Putty Squad.
Is
if I
it
played
Shantae we're doing?
But like,
Yes.
yep, man, it would be great to be able to put Bastion on a disc and play it anytime I want. Like, that is a game that
Hold it
needs to be
up.
preserved. It needs to be in the
It's the
Library of
Pirate's Curse.
Congress.
Pirate's Curse.
Mighty Gunvolt Burst on Switch. I mean, we love Inti Creates. That's what I'm saying. That's all I can say about that one.
All right, our winner is Beard Monster Games.
Beard Monster Games.
So that's
We
you?
got you, Shantae.
He loves
Question
Shantae.
about Icy release date? I mean, we haven't heard from Brandy for a while.
She told me to talk to her around E3.
Okay. All right. So, could be soon.
Yeah. Just had to get a few updates done.
A lot of people are asking about more anime games. There's actually a lot in our upcoming releases section. You have to kind of scroll down to get to all the visual novels, though.
And Emily, what's your favorite anime of all time?
I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay.
Woo!
You're dead to me.
You see, you can just trade
Emily
fanfic. They
likes to
got the
play
Gundam
trap
fanfic.
cards,
You
right?
got
That's
the.
right.
I place myself face down and go into defense mode.
Alright.
I end my turn.
Exclamation point raffle for Shadow Complex, PS4.
What?
All right, exclamation point raffle for
Hi-ya!
Shadow Complex.
Shadow Complex.
I would love.
We
to
would
do
all
Hellblade,
love to
but
do
I feel like
Hellblade.
Microsoft would be like, "You want to do a physical on PS4?"
LOL,
What?
LOL.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen. And
We would love
Microsoft
to do
hasn't
that
been
though.
super-
It would be lit.
Microsoft has not been responsive. Well, I mean, they've talked to us.
Yeah, but then
But then it just disappears.
And they're like, let's have another meeting. And I'm like, but this is like the third year in a
Alright,
row.
winner is Mr. Nicholas 7.
Mr.
Yay.
Nicholas 7.
Yatta!
Shadow Complex. From Fortnite creators, Epic Games.
Make you holler. For a dollar.
Crazy.
Holler.
You can see me do a
Spit in my mouth.
Yeah, XXX.
Yeah.
69.
Just
Yeah, the sniffing.
Wait, I feel like you just like revealed too much about yourself to everybody in the stream, Joe.
always
You want your screen name to be
does.
spit in my mouth?
Oh my goodness.
I don't want it.
When will we be doing trading card booster packs? So we
wow,
send
no.
out trading
Stop
cards
it.
with every release that we do. We're waiting
so
to kind of build up a lot of extra trading cards before we start packing them up into foil packs because we want to make sure that we have a really good assortment of cards so that there's not just like every pack has the same stuff in it.
Shank and Shank 2. I thought that was Shark. What's the next
Alright, what's
raffle?
next?
All right, Night
Trap.
Trap.
Night Trap
Last
CE.
one.
More collector's
Beep,
edition.
beep, beep.
We got a collector's
So
edition.
this has a cassette tape of the infamous Night Trap theme song, and it's got a patch that you can put on your bulletproof vest and pretend that you're a member of the Special Control Attack Team, aka Scat. You can pretend you're real into Scat.
Oh, God.
Fun fact, didn't know that was a thing until this game. Do not Google that, by the way.
Google it with Steve
Not
Irwin.
very
He's so
friendly.
cute.
Should have raffled Corey in the house.
Jeez.
Trap, trap, trap.
I have a
Alright, winner is Madrid 418.
Madrid. Night Trap. So we've got somebody was asking about the DLC for Phantom Breaker on Vita. So
No.
Steins Gate is off limits for anybody outside of like I guess right now Spike Chunsoft. Like it's not something we can do anything with because that IP is so like near and dear to mages that like
Well, we're pretty close to the PS4 one.
the PS4 one does that have Kurisu
Yeah.
in it? Oh.
Vita is just It was a technical thing.
Oh yeah, so the limitation was that it's just not easy to put DLC on the Vita cart. I thought that the problem was that like Mages was just so like close to the chest with.
That's what I thought. What would happen?
Steins Gate.
Someone asked if we were going to do any more collaborations with Hopoo, because we did Risk of Rain. If we're going to do like Deadbolt or something like that.
Deadbolt's awesome. I would really like to do Deadbolt. It's one of those things that like that's kind of high up on my list. Risk of Rain was great.
I love
Risk of Rain. Was so good. It's one of my favorite releases.
Someone was asking.
Tell them to email me.
Charlie.
Huh?
Tell them to email
Oh,
me.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think we can raffle off Charlie.
That's everything, right?
Give them my email.
Except for Charlie.
Someone was asking about
only if you can prove your Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge.
So
open.
Y'all pales in the face of my mighty knowledge. So
open customer support ticket, and if you know more about Yu-Gi-Oh than Emily,
You just
you
Emily?
can get her phone number.
Emily at Limited Rand. Wow, Josh.
I'm just trying to invite. I'm trying to invite like the worst.
When do we get Yu-Gi-Oh like a
Emily's week is going to be miserable.
I will close your ticket. Don't think I won't.
Mages in Australia pretty soon. They were just finishing up their updates.
Yeah, Golf Story is a pre-order.
I'm excited about
Oh, someone also
selling off Emily.
Ooh.
Ew.
Yo,
Should people might give my phone number through support, but I can't guarantee that it's not going to be
You're
like.
such an asshole.
You could just give them phone numbers for like random personals from Craigslist. So like they call them.
And then they're gonna
person.
put it on Reddit and be like,
No,
"Ooh, I
no,
just had a
no,
hot
no,
and
no,
steamy
no,
conversation
no,
with
no,
Emily from
Okay,
Limited
that's
Run
right.
Games."
That's probably a good idea. Not the best idea right there.
Why do you hate me so much?
It's alright, you'll just give them Josh's number.
Oh.
Or Ben's.
Oh, there you go.
Ben loves having
There you
his
go.
phone number given out.
Well, that'd be the least stimulating conversation you'll have on the phone.
No, you just won't be able to
Let me tell
keep
you about
up.
those long boxes.
Yeah. To some people in our fan base, that might actually be,
Good board.
good
talking.
discussion. Yeah, they might actually call to the quest line and talk about Sega Saturn games.
Charlotte the Witch says, what does Pot of Greed do, Emily?
This is Robert. He is the champion of the shipping team.
Robert ships out all
He
your
needs
stuff.
to say words.
So right here, these are all of the shipping people. You got Brandon, you got Paul, you got Joe, you got Rob. They handle getting the games out once they come in. It's
Sure
not
do.
their fault if the games take a long time to get from Sony or Nintendo.
Hey,
When they do come in,
They do
get,
a really
they get
good
stuff out
job.
Really
Thanks for
fast. We got Emily here. Emily does customer support. We got Sarah. She does customer support. We got Shaddy over there, man, in the
Put your butt in the
PMs.
stream.
Shaddy
your butt in
does
the stream.
packaging, artwork.
Dang.
We got Kurt. He's actually a programmer with Mighty Rabbit Studios, but he actually did work on the Switch version of Night Trap, the Switch version of Saturday Morning RPG, and some other stuff. We got Douglas. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't even work here. I don't know why.
He's the hair.
And then we got me. I do everything.
And he also gives out cookies to everybody.
And he has-
so-
Wait, people are cheering on the
Yeah, I
Shippy
got
Boys
that.
right now.
That's
Our two
I
fans.
eat
Yes,
Oreo cookies
So
when I
someone's
have
been
diabetes.
asking for a while if
Douglas is here to give everybody sugar-free gummy bears.
They want to know if their decal for their face
Observer?
is coming out.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's been asking that for a while.
So that was
The
the
sugar-free
and
gummy
like
bears.
Observer was really Douglas going to
I look
Aspire
like Ian Hank from
and
Easy Allies.
somehow
Is that
managing to
good?
convince them to do it.
I don't know what that
because,
means, but
I don't
that's
know
really
if
It was
that's
kind
good.
of, a tough one to
Google
get.
it.
I don't know if that actually caused them to find out about us, but
Charlie shakes.
you know,
Could
I
be
don't know.
that.
Charlie is in your
People are asking what
boy.
Charlie does.
He barks at boys and he snuggles the ladies.
We'll be able to combine
Somebody said
Switch
they have the same
pre-orders,
shirt as you, Kurt.
I think, right, Sarah?
Cool shirt person.
We'll be able to combine Switch
This
pre-orders.
is you.
Somebody was asking if we'll be able to combine Switch pre-orders.
This is you.
So no, we
Is that-
can't really combine things across runs unless you're doing the hold orders, because it's just like the issue about combining orders is the way we ship things out. We process a list of every order we got on a run, and then we have to run that through specialized software that spits it out, and then it kind of gets, I wouldn't say automated, but it's a pretty automated system in
Yeah.
terms of how we do it. When we combine orders, we have to pull things out, handle everything manually, and there's a higher chance for error. It takes forever Like Douglas used to do all of our shipping himself, and we would do everything anybody asked. So it was like if you wanted to combine like 65 orders together, Douglas would do it.
I had all those sticky notes.
If you wanted Douglas to like spit in your game and like in a vial and spit in your game so you could clone him or whatever, he'd do it. We would literally do everything you asked. And it would take, like, Breach and Clear, this game right here, we did 1,500 copies of this, but it took 4 weeks to ship out.
Yeah.
Remember when...
Because it was like we were doing everything, like, nothing was automated. There was nothing, like, it was just linearly down a list. So it's, like, so hard to combine.
Remember when
orders.
anybody asked us to sign something, I would say yes, and I had that huge stack of
it's like,
and you were like, oh.
With Saturday Morning RPG, you came in with a
When
stack
people
of
do
about,
that
like,
now, I'm
75
just like,
postcards,
please
and you're
no.
like, you sign all these? I was like,
A lot of people have been asking. A lot of people have been asking that for Saturday Morning RPG, and I'm like, yes, because it's your game and I have to. But I'm like,
I'm okay.
no!
I'm okay doing it, but like, I'm not gonna sign somebody else's game.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody's like, "Hey, can you sign my copy of like?"
You say that, but at a show you would, because I've done it.
I would do it at a show, but like,
Well, I'm
for a
gonna-
support ticket, if somebody asked me to sign a copy of Slime Song, I'd be like, "It's not my game."
That's what
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm actually gonna bring them to you and be like, put your name on this.
Sometimes it's weird because it's like a game will show up on eBay and it'll be like,
It's more
Oddworld,
rare.
autographed by Douglas Bogart, and it's like, what?
That doesn't add value.
That detracts from the value. It's Douglas.
Ow.
If anything, it removes
He's
value.
like,
I agree.
Someone asked a really fun question. What out of the titles that we announced today? What were the hardest titles to sign?
Today, I mean, Senran Kagura, right? Like, that was you on, like, a 2-year campaign. You had to go to Marvelous and Exceed and, like, prove to them, like, how big of a fan you were of the series and how earnest you were about, like, just making it exist physically, because...
I got told no at first.
They were really worried at first that we were, like, a competitor, and they were like, why would we work with you? And you, like, convinced them through, like... This was kind of like a movie moment. You, like, convinced them of how passionate you were about games and how much you loved Senran Kagura. And they were like, okay, you know, I can see the passion here, so let's do it. What other games did we announce that were like difficult? Geez, I don't really know. Like Spelunky was kind of a process to get. I mean,
Phantom Breaker was tough too.
Yeah, Phantom Breaker, Golf Story actually.
Yeah, that was kind of
yeah.
tough.
The first time we reached out for Golf Story, they said no. But then we teamed up with Fangamer and managed to make it happen.
Which is cool, because I know as soon as we announced that we were doing Switch, everyone, the biggest thing that we got was like,
It was like Golf Story.
Golf
Yeah.
Story.
The minute we announced Switch, I actually told Douglas, I was like, dude, if we don't sign Golf Story, we're going to let a lot of people down because, like, every single response to this post is like, are you going to do Golf Story? It's like, yeah, we got to do Golf Story.
How is it to work with Exceed? Actually, really awesome.
Yeah, the guys from Exceed are great.
Yeah, they're actually
really cool.
Very casual.
So with Golf Story, one of the things that I'm going to announce on the stream, I don't know what's going to come out of it. I don't know if it's going to be available next to the Switch release, but I actually have an NES developer working on a functional version of Galf for the NES that will actually run off of an NES cartridge. So you can actually play Galf from Golf Story on your NES.
Nice.
And it's being developed by Newgrounds superstar, creator of Eskimo Bob, Thomas Guinan.
Someone asked if our what we revealed today was covered everything that we're releasing this year, and that's a no.
No.
Right? Yeah, not even
Oh
close.
no, not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got like
I'm announcing something at 5.
We've got so many like really good Switch releases. Like our calendar for the rest of the year is packed with amazing Switch releases. We've got stuff that's like PS4, Vita, that's crazy, still to go. I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff we could have coming out in the fall, or like people are going to be like, "How is Limited Run Games even working with this developer?"
Yeah.
We've got a meeting on Friday at E3 that's like, I still can't even believe we're talking to them.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Like,
surreal.
Yeah.
Allah!
And we're meeting with Surreal at
Thomas
IHOP.
is in the stream.
Only one person
Oh,
who spells
Dandy
it.
Sky.
And
Of course.
I'm just gonna I'm starting the hype train early. We've got a release in 2019 that's gonna break the internet. I'm just saying it now. No, I'm serious.
Alright.
Like, it is a new entry in a long-running series that nobody knows is coming, that people have been clamoring for decades, and we're gonna be doing the physical release. So that's.
Ooh, the hype.
I can't wait for that.
All right.
So we're talking like Kim Kardashian break the internet?
It's
She didn't
actually
break the
Kim
internet.
Kardashian iOS game for Switch. Kim Kardashian Hollywood star. Yep.
Joe's gonna own 20 copies.
I still want to know. I want to know how much she paid, like Justin Roiland, to do the Kanye West song.
Yeah, right.
Like I feel like you need to text Justin Roiland and say like, "Hey, how much did Kim pay you to do that song?"
I feel like he probably did it for free.
I don't think he did.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he does things for free. I think and it's like it's funny when you listen to the song, he's like laughing.
You're the
in
man,
background,
dude.
So it's like, you can tell he's kinda
You're
like
the man
in.
now, dog.
Great.
So somebody brought up.
sign. I don't even know what that is.
NC,
That's also NWO.
I'm from the
Midwest. It's also NC State. Okay, it's the Wolfpack.
This is also like Longhorns from Texas.
Yeah.
No, that's
That's
cool.
No.
We are all so gangster.
Somebody said Kurt and Robert look like twins.
Yeah.
Robert.
It's just the generic like
Yes.
glasses and
Basically
the same.
Robert's definitely a little edgier. He's like the edgier version of Kurt.
No,
yeah, I've
you
got a
need
little
to
like,
like-
tattoo.
Yeah, bro.
He's like,
Such
he's
a
like the
bad
Sonic
boy.
Adventure
Yeah,
to
bro.
like Kurt's Sonic.
No.
Winning.
Another question I heard a lot was
Do you hate
about
me so
Mercenary
much
Kings
A little
2.
bit.
Mercenary Kings 2?
No, Mercenary Kings 2, but Mercenary
I was
Kings
gonna say,
also.
like, I've
we
never
get to
heard
watch
of
it.
No, they're asking like when is that coming out for Vita? They're asking.
They're looking uncomfortable.
That's what
You're
we're
like
gonna do this
fucking-
year. Anything that we've announced for Vita, we are making sure that
They would be like,
that it comes out. The whole idea is like the Switch news that or the Vita news that came up recently kind of lit a fire under us to get everything that we have signed for Vita out as soon as possible.
Mhm.
So we've got about 35 Vita games that are still yet to be released, and that they're going to kind of be spread out through the rest of 2018 and into 2019. And one of the things I'm going to announce here that is pretty awesome that I want to make sure that everybody knows about on this stream is that anybody who has a complete limited run games Vita set by the end of all of our Vita releases is going to get a free Vita release that is going to be exclusive to people who have the complete Vita set. And it's going to be free. All you're going to have to do is validate that you have all of our Vita games that we've released. And once we've validated that, we're going to send out a free game to people. And it's going to be the only way to get it. We're not even going to announce it. It's not going to come out digitally or anything like that.
Wait. How much is this going to cost?
Free 99.
What? Zero?
The salesman in Douglas just came out.
What's the first video game you
So
played in your
don't
life?
miss out on any of the Vita games, huh?
Some guy just asked, what's the first video game you ever played in your life?
Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo NES, and I died on the first Goomba.
Yay!
I was 3.
Nice.
I remember that.
That Goomba still haunts you.
I remember that moment specifically because my brother and sister made fun of me relentlessly. I'm like, I'm 3, what do you want? I didn't say that, because I mean, that'd be a really sarcastic thing for a 3-year-old to say, but...
That would be the most amazing thing for a 3-year-old to
Yeah.
say.
But I did it, and it was funny because my daughter, I put it on the AVS when she was visiting the office. She did the same thing, died on the first Goomba.
Oh,
Now,
definitely don't.
I didn't make fun of her though.
It's good for you.
I said it's okay. I died on the first Goomba too when I was your age.
Ed the Nerd made a really good point. Does that include CEs for the Vitas?
For the Vita,
Mhm.
I
That's
mean,
a set.
it could. I haven't actually like counted. Oh, for the actual
He's
set.
like, I haven't
no.
thought about this at all.
No, you don't have to have the CEs. Like, we're just looking for like people to verify that they have one of every game we've released, whether it's CE or standard. You don't have to remove them if it's the CE. We haven't like locked down what the verification process is for that yet, because like obviously everyone's not going to have all of those purchases on their order history, but we're going to figure out a way to make sure that we can validate that people have that, and it's going to be pretty awesome because it's like you're going to be the only way to get that release. We're not going to sell it, so like if only 100 people have complete limited run games Vita sets, we're still going to do the minimum order quantity with Sony, but we're just going to like maybe bulldoze the remaining copies. I don't know. It's something to thank. The whole idea of it is it's something to thank the people who have been there supporting us on that platform and making sure that like everything has been successful. And we're going to extend this to PS4 and Switch. When our PS4 lineup ends, we're going to give people a free PS4 game to cap off the set. When our Switch collection ends, we're going to give people a free Switch game to cap off that set. So we're going to keep that kind of running as a tradition. So it's going to be our way to say goodbye to everything. Have we
The
been like
experts get
gift
buried
themed
in the
anywhere,
desert.
Douglas?
No, that's what I'm trying to check.
Yeah. Did a Wario64 tweet about us? I mean, that's pretty much like the you know you've won when Wario64 is tweeting memes about you.
They want to know, does it matter if some of the games come from like third party, like eBay or?
No, does not. So like if you right now are missing like 2 or 3 games, you can go and complete your set on eBay. It's all good. Because we're gonna actually like verify it through like picture and some other way. I don't know.
Another
The ball has arrived!
Twice.
What is my limited run 139? Is that?
They keep asking that. I don't know.
Yet.
Magica.
Oh yeah, that's that game. Okay, yeah, we haven't released 139 yet. It'll come out in July next to Observer. The sexy muscly guy in the blue shirt's back.
Show me those pecs,
Back over here.
Sex appeal is back.
And just for reference, he's not a real man. He has a roommate.
Oh.
Shit.
But he's an excellent
Deep
cook.
cut, Ben.
Fucking red.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, those pecs is messing. Oh.
So fun fact about this guy. If you played Saturday Morning RPG, there's a character. There's a character in episode 2 of Saturday Morning RPG named Ben, and it's actually this guy. He's trapped in a toilet because he clogged the toilet. That's a true story.
Joshua!
So literally we were at a Red Roof Inn back when we were like working out of a basement. So there's like 6 of us developers and like a 1-bedroom flop house like right outside of DC for MagFest. But they had old plumbing, and the next morning we had like a magic card problem, and one of our designer at the time was passed out a pile of magic cards, and I didn't just flood but like destroyed their toilet in that hotel. And this guy woke up with my poop floating right in his face, with me standing on top of the thing screaming, and we had to dive out of the thing, and I don't even know if the debit card number changed or what. I'm surprised we didn't get charged for a lot of money on that.
I have a problem. I have a problem.
Magic card
That's what I heard too. Magic card. I heard magic card too.
Designed in every episode something with me in a toilet or some kind of humor along that line because he hated me for a while.
The loyalty tickets that come with the game, you can actually redeem those for prizes on our website. We have a mail voucher that you print out. You mail your tickets back in with it. You can get free postcards, games, trading cards, whatever.
It's 2018. You have male and female vouchers.
I laughed.
Oh, crazy. Coop's actually commenting on it. Coop's on there. He's some
So we don't know the full numbers for Valhalla and Realm yet. But Valhalla, I mean, I can say, like, at this point, I guess we announced the release date. I can probably say it's like, it was signed at 7,500 copies, so we don't know how many of that's going to be CEs versus standard, but that's the most we've ever done of a Vita game, so we're not really worried about needing open pre-orders on that one.
Hot dudes.
Hot dudes, really? I'm not a hot dude. Not by any chance. I'm balding. Ben's
It's
bald.
Ben over
Ben's
there.
the only hot guy here.
The Timbers is actually quite nice.
Yeah, the streamer said it'd be
quite
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if the PSVR titles will count for the PlayStation 4.
It would be like a VR subset.
So it'd be a subset.
Yeah, it's like a,
Show me that booty.
VR is its own platform. So
The person keeps saying you're cute.
Friend's got a crush
Well,
on
thank
you.
you. Big Friend's got a crush on
Sorry, I
Sora.
saw earlier too. You guys already. Somebody asked it again. You probably
Gears of War 5 to the
PS3.
GameCube.
Are you guys still exploring that as a potential?
Yeah, so we just hired a guy who's out at E3 right now. We're technically out at E3 too. Not really.
Yeah, we're in Los Angeles right now.
We're right now in Los Angeles Apex.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Apex, North Carolina. Gears of War was originally called Apex Wars.
Oh.
Yeah, because the town of Apex, Cliff Bleszinski was driving through after a paintball game.
Wow.
And he saw the sign for
mine now.
Apex, and he was like, Apex
You're
Wars,
mine
that's what I'm
now.
calling it.
Wow.
Yep, fun
Should've-
fact. Now
should've
you know
stuck
everything
with
about
that.
Gears of War.
I'm trying to escape.
So Double Dragon 4, we've already sold out on PS4. We put that up in November. It's sold out. Unless you're asking like when we're gonna put it up for Switch. Right now it's not on our Switch slate. I loved doing that release because I got to make up the entire continuity for Double Dragon, and that was awesome. Like, it's not every day that you get to define the continuity for a 30-year-old game.
Is it gratifying for you to know that the CEO of ARK loved it?
Yes.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Did he love my summary or just the release in general that I put together?
The whole bunch
Not to Scoot.
Fantastic.
So it's
People are watching.
Scoot.
No Scoot.
She was like, hopping.
Game Paradise Troublemakers wasn't supposed to be announced. So that's all I can say about that one, but it's probably still coming. It just wasn't supposed to be announced. Yeah, we had a really lively so our audience was about as lively as the audience at the Bethesda conference when Andrew WK walked out. So it's about the same, right? You know, they're about as lively. Now, it's hard to find real bodies for.
Is Hellblade possible?
For the conference.
No.
Probably not.
We would all love to do that, but
I mean, we
who knows?
sent Ninja Theory so much stuff to try to get them on board.
Yeah, we took a
Really
stab at it.
tried
They were nice guys, but it just sounded like they had a lot going on, which I don't
Yeah.
doubt. They were going through like
Anything
the,
is possible.
I just don't know if they really. I don't know if they really expected the massive success that game had digitally.
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it's great.
So
I was blown away
good.
by them. Like, man, like they've had some ups and downs. Like Enslaved didn't do very well. Like people
And
got
that
so
game was
mad
good
about.
too. I thought that game was pretty decent for its time.
Yeah. They had that mobile game that nobody played. I can't remember what that's called, but there was like a mobile beat 'em up game that like actually had really good graphics, but nobody played it. Yeah.
Should probably go soon.
Yeah, we probably have to sign off because Ubisoft's probably getting to the exciting stuff like Steep 2.
They had Joseph Gordon-Levitt on stage.
Oh, did
I
they?
don't know what to announce Steep 2.
Charlie.
He's a beautiful man.
So I mean, when do we expect Vita to end? I mean, I'm thinking that it's probably our last Vita release is probably going to come out like March or April 2019. You know, because we're going
Probably
to try
like
to
Q2, yeah.
we're going to try to like back roll releases, spread our stuff out, and like have it end
Indeed.
around then. But we recently hired a guy named Joe who's going to take over PS3 development. So we're going to kind of fill in the void on Vita with PS3 games. PS3 has so much stuff that has not been preserved physically. You got Castle Crashers. This is one of my favorite PS3 games. That,
I love Castle
That has
Crashers.
not been released. We've got The Cave from Double Fine, which I love. Double Dragon Neon.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. There's a lot, you know. And knowing how to do PS3 physical releases, I think would put us one step closer to getting Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Even though I know that's never going to happen.
That much more.
Just that much more.
Yeah,
still,
that's
again,
this.
still this much more.
Nice, we covered Silicon Area and Gamatsu.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, for everybody's on here, like, there's a lot more people that showed up today than we expected.
Yeah. So for
By a
reference,
factor of
when we
10.
were initially like doing the stream, we were thinking like, yeah, we're gonna get like
3,000 to
like
5,000
like
was
three.
my guess.
No, I was thinking like,
No, you're thinking like
I was
2,000.
Optimistic.
I was telling developers, like, I told Cosmic Star Hero, and I was like, hey, we're probably going to get like 500, 600 people on our stream.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we had 105,000 across all of
It
like,
was
the
100
streams.
at the peak. It was over 130,000 across all the different places that were
Woof.
streaming it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
we were off by a little bit.
So I mean, we were like 300,000 or 400,000 short of Devolver, but not bad.
It's alright
Not bad.
though because we had our beautiful presentation.
Yeah, we had that great that
we dethroned
that amazing Turbo Squid
Yeah.
stage, Adrian's audience generator. Yeah, it was all there.
I've been excited about.
And you know,
Elder
I didn't know if
Scrolls,
anybody noticed,
definitely.
but we had
That's
all
about
the
E3.
we had all your favorite members of the press attending our press conference. We had cheatcodecc.com, we had GameFAQs.com, we had GamePro, we had Scary Larry, Dan Electro, they were there.
I missed them.
OneUp.com, wow, they were there. Shane Bettenhausen.
That website was awesome.
Actually, that's good. Yeah. We had old man.
It was
Greg,
kind of like
I think
Cruising
was his
USA.
name. Okay, right. Yeah, I told Adrian to put some like static, people raising signs, like 2-frame animations in there. It would've been
Except
pretty
the
cool.
always part of different games.
Gears of Fear
Should
PS4
be
is going to come out
releasing in
alongside the
July.
Switch release in October.
Thimbleweed should be shipping in
Ooh.
July.
Actually, Thimbleweed might be shipping at the end of this
We might hit.
Really? I did
literally
not
got
know
snuck out
that.
to go take care of an email with our freight. The carts are actually in the country and they're
Yeah,
on
the
the way
carts
to
are in
Charlotte,
the
North
US.
That
Carolina.
is awesome.
Yeah, and then they'll go right back to Texas, and then we got some more stuff to do.
Yeah, the raffle's over.
Raffle's done.
It's over.
Everspace on PS4, they had a fallout with the original publisher, so don't pre-order Everspace for PS4 at any retailer in the world. Like Amazon, GameStop, Game, Amazon.uk, Amazon.de. No site that's selling Everspace right now is actually going to have it except for us. That wasn't something that we made happen. The developer had a falling out with their publisher.
They dropped the ball.
They came back to us. So we're helping them. We're picking up the pieces, and we're going to be the only place where you're going to be able to get that game.
What is your relationship with Fangamer?
Like family?
They're the
Fangamer's
best.
awesome. They were on the we met them on the convention circuit. They met Douglas the best.
They're so awesome.
Yeah. We met them and like we have a pretty good working relationship with them.
Yeah, we're actually one of the things we are going to do trading cards for all the employees at some point. Once we find an artist to do everybody. Everybody here is going to have their trading cards to give out instead of business cards to fans.
cool.
So it's going to be like pretty hard to get like anybody who doesn't go to events, but we'll probably include them in random orders or whatever. People are like, who is this, Joe? OJ?
Just another
Yeah, we love Fangamer though. They do really good stuff. I started buying their things back when they released the guidebook for Mother 3. That was, I don't even know how long ago at this point, like 2008 maybe. I got in on the original release of that, might even been 2010, I don't know, more recent, but you can tell like on every single page of that handbook, these guys put so much love and care into that product that like we knew we had to work with them on something, and we got to do our first thing with them.
The dogs need treatment.
What was our
Abby
first thing?
has a card. Oh, Abby's on your card.
Octodad, the tie. And then we
Where's
did
my
Red
tie?
Mage after
It's good
that.
stuff.
Yeah. I guess we're gonna have to do a card for Charlie. I mean, I
Yep.
guess that's unavoidable.
Sorry, Abby.
Shaddy's gonna
Well,
have to have
I
Abby.
guess.
Shiny would never want to.
Yeah, you should give them
You should try to
outfits.
sneak her in.
I want to do Ikaruga, but I'm like honestly
give her, like, a
surprised
huge
that
Shantae rack.
Nicalis isn't doing it. Like, we're all confused about why Nicalis isn't doing Ikaruga on card. And my theory is that retailers maybe don't want shmups. That's a theory. Because I can't see why like that masterpiece is not on card. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of upsetting.
Like that would have been like my #1 pick for a cart release on Switch. Man, that game's awesome. Yeah, Thumper's gonna have a collector's edition. Shaddy was talking about it earlier. It's gonna be awesome. Foil box. It's gonna be one of the most beautiful collector's editions we've done. Like really, really trippy looking box. Great art. And we're teaming with Fangamer for one of the components. It's gonna be good.
Wrap it up, or
Yeah,
wrap it up.
Yeah, we should wrap it up. We should answer the Smash Bros. Switch. What party are we in? Port or new game?
Port.
I think it's
I think it's a new game.
1.5.
Yeah, I think it's Port Plus.
Yeah, I think it's like 1.5. I think it's the Wii U version with new characters and tweaks. I think it's like it's too much for it to be like completely ground up new. Just that would be crazy.
We can hope.
I'm gonna know. I'm playing it on Wednesday.
Woo! Rubbing
Yeah.
it all our faces.
Yeah. I'm gonna play as John Cena.
Yeah.
Goku.
I'm gonna play as Urkel. What if it was Urkel's tie? How about Super Mario Brothers? They're already in the game.
Everybody's gone to the Rapture?
They keep saying that. I don't get it.
So he's been asking for that on Twitter. So everybody's gone to the Rapture. Sony has the rights to that. I mean, we have something in the works that is through Sony, and we're hoping that that could be the gateway to other Sony games. So I wouldn't say it's off the table, but right now it is because we haven't done anything with Sony yet. And this is another case of like the amount of money we can make is a drop in the bucket for Sony. So it's kind of a hard issue.
She's rubbing her butt.
Yeah, she's scooting her butt on the carpet. Ruining the carpet, Abby. Anyways,
French
yeah.
good
So we
carpet.
really want to put out everybody that's gone to the Rapture.
All right, everybody wave.
Thanks,
Everybody
guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back in 15 minutes.
Yeah.